Hi friends, welcome to the channel. Hit the like and subscribe, and don't forget to comment with an emoji just for the sake of engagement.
Chapter 11. When she woke up, she realized that her body felt heavy. Before passing out, she was sure she saw Mion's figure, but suddenly Mion called her. She looked at him and wanted to know when he returned to the palace. They were at the hunting festival. Julia also noticed her body was completely fine. She was sure she was attacked by a Groven. Mion asked what she was talking about and told her the hunting festival ended ages ago, asking her if she had a bad dream. Julia realized she must have had a nightmare, but it was very vivid, breaking her thought. Mion told Julia that there was someone else he would like to introduce, and introduced Kiera as his concubine. He asked Julia why she was surprised and asked her to congratulate him, because that is what she really wanted. Julia was thinking when it happened, wondering when it all changed. Mion told her that she was the young lady that Julia chose herself, and he accepted her as his concubine just for her. When Julia told Mion that he did it for himself and not her, Mion questioned her why she never asked for his opinion. But before she could answer, he left with Kiera by his side. Julia tried to talk, but Mion completely ignored her. Julia broke down and revealed that she acted that way because she was scared of the change. Mion was very precious to her, and she was afraid of losing the friendship they had, so she tried to find a way to help him without changing their relationship. But she realized that it wasn't for Mion. It was for her own selfishness and questioned what she should do now. Suddenly, with a jolt, she woke up. She saw her surroundings and questioned where she was and wondered if it was a dream. Iris entered the room, and she asked where she was. Iris informed her that she was at the Duke's estate as she sat down. Julia asked her what happened to the hunting festival. She replied that they had canceled all of the events and the nobles were behind at the hunting grounds for further investigation. She informed her that since the poison had spread throughout her body, she was urgently brought to the estate for treatment, as it was the closest location. The other nobles stayed behind with the soldiers to investigate, but Kiera, under Mion's orders, was taken to one of the guest rooms for mental and physical recovery. Julia was relieved to hear that Mion was back. Iris apologized. Julia asked Iris why she was apologizing, and Iris replied that she had heard from Mion and learned that Julia had been helping them for a long time. She found out that Julia was the one who found the fever medicine for her son suffering from high fever, and it was also her who invested in her husband's business when it was about to collapse. She told her that it wasn't an excuse, but Kiera was her only friend she had her entire life. And since she was inexperienced in forming relationships, she wanted to grant every request of her one and only friend. But after her engagement was broken off, she left and never attempted to communicate, which is why she felt that it was all her fault. So she thought of keeping her distance from Julia as her only way of being loyal. Julia realized why Iris was so cold towards her. Iris told her that after a long time, she finally received a letter from Kiera asking her about the selection of concubines and asking for her help. But when she returned, something was off. Later, at the hunting festival, no matter how many times she disagreed, Kiera insisted on being alone with Julia. When she refused her request, Kiera stormed off and left the event entirely. While Iris was searching for Kiera, she overheard something troubling. Kiera was murmuring to herself that she needed to be alone with someone if she wanted to get rid of that woman. Iris couldn't believe what she heard, and she hesitated because she was unsure if she should report to Mion. But while she was contemplating, Kiera disappeared. By the time she asked around and found them, the incident had already happened. She apologized once again, even though it was too late. Julia finally understood the situation and realized that she must have been overwhelmed by her desire to protect her friendship. She smiled and thanked her for saving her, saying that the poison was truly dangerous. She decided to be gracious since she was the queen. All the event was a bit risky, but at least she tried. Julia also wanted to be truthful and told her that even if she wanted to, she couldn't accept her apology and would need some time to heal. She started bawling her eyes out, saying she wanted to be close and wanted them to be friends and how she had really tried to make a bond. Seeing her cry, Iris, with a heavy heart and saddened eyes, apologized, but Julia suddenly hugged her, shocking Iris. Julia didn't want to keep resisting and resenting Iris's advancement to be friends with her. She wanted to do normal stuff like going shopping and talking about the latest trends, and she was also tired of hiding her feelings from the people around her. So she asked Iris to put in as much effort as she did, and Iris happily agreed. Chapter 12. Mion came to visit Julia after hearing that she woke up but was wondering what happened, seeing both of them. Iris quickly left to give them some privacy, but Mion was happy that the atmosphere seemed relaxed. He asked Julia if things got better between them and asked Julia how she was feeling, and she replied that she felt like she was never attacked. Mion told her that he felt as if he was going to lose her. He had heard everything from Iris on how Tiara wanted to be his concubine, and from the circumstances, it looked like she was the one who wanted to hurt her. Mion apologized to Julia because he couldn't arrive sooner in time to protect her because the Duke kept delaying him. Julia replied it wasn't his fault. She told him that he had probably heard how the grovel appeared. She tried to handle it herself because she was worried that there would be more casualties if it was let loose, but the truth was she was even more desperate because she didn't want someone like Kiara near Mion. She could have considered her if she was a good person, but she was not certain about it anymore. Mion was questioning how it even happened, as there were no signs of monsters before the hunting festival. Julia informed Mion that Kiara was controlling the monsters, shocking him, and also informed him that she somehow knew that Julia could use a bow, but didn't seem like she knew about her sword-wielding capabilities. Mion was furious because it meant that there was a spy in the palace. Julia told Mion that although it didn't seem like Kiara wanted to kill her at first, she only tried to isolate her in the palace. Mion realized that it meant there was a faction that was targeting her. He stated that he would start investigating the people who knew about her combat skills, and if anyone previously had the ability to control monsters, he told Julia that Kiara had been confined due to protocol for now, but he would bring her to the Imperial Palace and interrogate her tomorrow. Julia asked if there was anything she could do to help since she was feeling better, but was asked to rest for the meantime. Julia thought that she would probably get in the way, which is why Mion suggested she rest, but he stated that since she never took care of herself just like this time, even though her body had the capability to heal, it didn't mean that her mind was okay, asking her to rely on him and not push herself too hard. As they were about to have an intimate moment, a maid came knocking and told them that lunch had been prepared, and Julia seized the opportunity and quickly left. While having lunch, she felt awkward because both Iris and she had been bawling their eyes out. She was looking for a way to be close to Iris, so she requested to pour some wine for her, thinking that sharing a drink would help them bond. Her attempt at bonding failed because Iris rejected her and told her she wouldn't be able to drink alcohol. Julia thought that maybe it was too soon, but Iris quickly corrected her, saying that she was expecting her second child. The whole palace erupted in congratulations. Julia requested one of the maids to pour them some drinks, asking them to make the other 2 glasses non-alcoholic. When Iris asked Julia if she was not going to have one, she said that it was for Mion because he can't drink alcohol and she drinks on behalf of him. Hearing Julia, Iris was shocked and confused, and once the beverages arrived, they cheered and enjoyed them. Later that day, as Mion was carrying Julia back to their room since she was pretty drunk, Iris questioned him about him not being able to drink, asking if he was hiding something from Julia. But he simply replied that he never lies to her, asking her to mind her own business and go to bed. Although Iris knew that it was just a husband taking his wife, it felt like a predator carrying off its prey. LOL. Chapter 13. Later that night, Julia woke up and saw that Mion was not in the bed. When she looked around, she noticed him sitting and reading a book. She called for him, asking what he was doing. When he approached, Julia apologized. Mion asked her why she was apologizing all of a sudden. She replied that she felt it was disrespectful of her to try bringing in a concubine without even asking for his opinion. She told him that she thought he needed someone who could help since he didn't have the power to support him. She wouldn't have minded if her position was diminished as long as she could have helped him, but now she realized that it was her own greed rather than her care for Mion. Mion took her hands and told her that he liked her and finally revealed that it wasn't a sibling-like feeling. He told her that when he sees her, He just wants to touch her and kiss her, and he doesn't want to think about anybody else but her. But when Julia asked him about his prior engagement, he replied that the only person he had ever liked since he was young was Julia. Julia realized that it had all been a misunderstanding and that she had been worrying about nothing, but she also asked Mion how he could be so sure of his feelings. They had been friends since they were young. She was scared that if they became lovers and realized that it was all just an illusion, she was worried that he would distance himself from her. But when she was about to reply, Julia suddenly interrupted and told him that they should do it, leaving him confused. She drank a big glass of water just to calm her nerves and told Mion that when she was young, her etiquette teacher used to say that if she touched someone she liked, their body reacted, so she blatantly told Mion that they should touch each other. Mion was flustered because he couldn't believe what she was saying. He thought that she was drunk, and when he looked around, he noticed the premium quality alcohol she was chugging. Julia grabbed onto Mion and asked him if she could touch him, but suddenly her hands inched downwards, and she felt a rigid cucumber. She asked Mion what that big thing was that he was carrying. Unable to hold himself any longer, Mion grabbed Julia and pushed her onto the bed, telling her that he could see she couldn't stop at just touching, so today he was going to show her a little until she could confirm her feelings. Meanwhile, in the guest room of Duke Hyde's mansion, Kiera was stuck arguing with herself and not believing her circumstances. A few hours ago, when Mion came to meet her, she requested him to believe her and told him that the queen tried to kill her because she asked her to allow her to be his concubine, and added that such a woman who can't control her emotions should not be by his side, but she was slapped in return. Mion, after hearing her ask to watch her words and think before she spoke, told her that the only reason she was alive was because of his queen. Kiera couldn't believe that her love was calling that stupid woman her queen because she took something that was hers, and she promised that she won't let her go and take back everything from her, giving her a painful death. Chapter 14. The next day, the pair could be seen sleeping together, and Mion was looking at Julia with loving eyes. He was happy to see her sleep so peacefully. Mion had decided to approach Julia slowly until she could confirm her feelings. Yesterday, when they were being intimate, Julia was nervous because she felt strange, as if he were a completely different person, and they spent the night not as lovers but still as friends. He told Julia that he liked her from the moment they met. He didn't hear the answer he wanted, but he was satisfied because he was not in a hurry. Duke Hyde came to their room to give him some reports, but since Julia was sleeping, they decided to go outside. He informed Mion that Kiera had disappeared last night. Later, when Julia woke up, she found out that Mion had already left the palace. She thought that it might be because of that awkward night they spent together, but Iris informed her that it was because of an emergency meeting since Kiera had disappeared. Since he was in a hurry, he left and asked Iris to apologize on his behalf for not being able to report the matter directly to her. Julia was shocked and realized that she should have been more cautious. She blamed herself for not being steadfast at times like this because she was the queen. Iris told her that although it was not as refreshing as the hunting festival, the gardens in the estate had bloomed beautifully. She also mentioned that a shop had released a new lace design. Julia realized that Iris was trying to comfort her since she was feeling uneasy, and when she asked Julia if she would like to go sightseeing with her, she happily replied that she would join her even though she was not sure that the time was appropriate because of the present situation. But since Mion had asked her to leave the matter to him, she obliged. In the palace, Mion asked if there had been any reply from Duke Sor, who was also under house arrest, and he learned that her father had believed she was still at Duke Hyde's estate, but since there was a consideration that she might return back to her residence, a search was continued, focusing on the Duke's house. When Mion asked about the leak of the Queen's abilities, he was told that all related individuals were being interrogated and magic related to handling beasts was also being investigated, but they hadn't found any leads so far. Mion suspected a faction was behind it all and asked to focus the investigation on the people Duke Sor and Kiera met after entering the country. A butler informed him that a message had arrived from the Magic Tower, which surprised him. The letter informed him that the continental mana had become unstable, so they were planning to place magic tool shops in major cities across the nation and were also planning to secretly hold entrance exams. The magic tower was centered around the Tower Master. It was a place that was not controlled by any nation and held unique and sovereign status. The convenience effects brought were so extraordinary that every nation, whether great or small, couldn't afford to live without it and was desperate to gain even the slightest advantage. The abilities of the mages range from managing prosperous magic and controlling the weather to performing large-scale spells powerful enough to calm storms, depending on their skill. Whenever a country required crucial magic or artifacts, they had no choice but to bow to the Mage Tower, and since they were holding exams in secret, it meant that one of the high-ranking mages must have been expelled. They were questioning if the instability in the magical energy was because the number of mages maintaining the tower had decreased. The power of the high-ranking measures was far beyond that of any low-ranking mage, but Mion was suspicious of the timing and believed that the faction was supporting Kiera and was somehow connected to the high-ranking mage who was expelled from the tower. But the Duke was shocked because anyone connected to the Mage Tower was under its control, which meant they would be having a hard time capturing Tiara, and Mion knew that if Kiera had ties to some mages from the tower, or she herself turned out to be a mage, the situation would only worsen. He asked the Count to investigate everyone who had entered and exited the palace over the past 10 years to determine where the leak happened, and he asked the Duke to track down Kiara's whereabouts, and also to confirm the antique shop the main tower had established because he wanted to make Kiara beg for her death with her own lips. Chapter 15. For the next few days, Julia spent time with Iris enjoying the sights of Hyde's territory, and today they decided to explore the marketplace. She had only seen merchants coming to the royal palace, so the outing was very exciting. Iris told Julia about the magic shop that had opened recently, and they decided to check it out. They were welcomed upon entering, and Julia was amazed to see all the magical artifacts. But she also found it strange since the Magic Tower was a closed institution and never ran a shop like this. As she was browsing through the products, something caught her eye. Iris was also checking out the magical artifacts when she noticed Julia focused on a particular product. She went to her, asking if she liked it, and saw that it was a magical gun. Julia stated that the gun was beautiful, and she couldn't stop looking at it. The shop owner informed her that it was a magical artifact and didn't require bullets, only magical energy, which is why it was very expensive. Julia was amazed seeing the magical gun and wanted to hold it for a moment. The shopkeeper allowed her, but also told her that it might not live up to her expectations, as she was looking at the effects of the gun as she was holding the gun. The shopkeeper told her that if she didn't have magic, it was no different from a toy. The gun was also enchanted to change size at will, making it convenient to carry. For someone without magic, it was a useless item. Julia really wanted to buy the gun, but couldn't justify the spending. As she went around looking for other items, Iris noticed Julia's expression and asked the shopkeeper to wrap the gun for her. She paid for the gun, and Julia thought that Iris might also like it. As the shopkeeper thanked her for the purchase, he informed her that since the item was classified as a weapon, only the purchaser must write their name on it, and if the registered owner's name didn't match, that magic tower would come to reconfiscate. After hearing it, Iris turned to Julia, asking her to write her name on the registration form, and told her that she wanted to give it as a gift, shocking Julia. Julia tried hesitating since it was a really expensive gift. Iris told her that she wanted to buy something that she wanted to have, asking her to accept the gift. Julia was touched, but soon they were interrupted when Duke entered the shop. He came to meet his wife since he couldn't leave the palace for a while, and when he heard that they both went out, he came to pick them up. Iris asked the Duke if he had been very busy with work, and he replied that although there hadn't been much progress, Mion was twice as sharp as his usual self. The palace's atmosphere was quite tense. He informed Julia that even though he had asked her to rest, he himself wasn't sleeping at all and had asked about her well-being from the Duke. Worried about Mion's health, Julia decided to head back to the palace to stay beside Mion at times like this. After she returned, she had a change of clothes and finished washing up. She thought that Mion might be asleep since it was quite late, but her heart was racing thinking about seeing him. Peeking in the bedroom, she found him sleeping and decided to sneak in, trying not to disturb his sleep. But as soon as she reached her bed, Mion pulled her in and pinned her down, asking her why she was back.
That's all for today. See you in the next episode, friends. Until then, keep reading manga.